You said he's 21.
Good morning, City fans. Still got smiles on the face today, but we are having a little bit more of a somber recap here on ball watching, but a lot of positives to get to as well. So I don't want somber to be the attitude for today. It's definitely not my word for today. But Justin, immediate reactions. How are we feeling after last night? The first loss of the season.
Fine. I'm not
Or
too
ever.
concerned. First loss ever. Wow.
Yeah.
That makes it a little bit heavier. Feeling fine. I think we'll get into all the details, but it had to come at some point. I really didn't expect it to come last night, but it's fine.
Yeah, I would agree. We're gonna break it down a lot deeper, but I feel like we all just kind of feeling about the result last night. Thank you for all joining in. This is Jake, joined by Justin on another episode of Ball Watching. We're gonna recap this Minnesota United FC game that we had last night on April 1st here at City Park. So
Can we say that we didn't lose? It was a joke. April Fool's Day stuff.
I would love to. I can get on that train if we want to push that.
I'm gonna push that. We didn't actually lose.
Yeah.
It was still just a dream.
I'm down. I'm down. Very down with that. Okay. Well, one word summaries, Justin. A little bit of a different one to go about this. Did you get any consultation or feedback on your word for today?
I did. I went back to my original help with Miss Julie, the artist, and I FaceTimed her this morning, and I needed a word, and she gave me a word, and it's just sad. I don't want it. I was like, hey, we lost. Like, I need a word. Uh, Bothersome, and just reminds me. She was like Winnie the Pooh. Oh, bother, and that's. I mean, it's just like the game was good, and we'll get into all the details of it, but like. Just kind of sad. Like, I didn't expect us to get an L. I thought we'd for sure at least tie in this game. I mean, they literally had one shot on goal, and it was the PK, and that's just annoying. So,
I know.
oh, bothersome is my word.
Okay. Fair. In the reference, very fair as well. A lot of Pooh Bear fans out here. I would say my one word, and I've used this word a couple times in describing either games or how we like to handle opponents. But I think last night we were just stifled. I think Minnesota brought a good game plan, and I give them credit for executing on that. They just were here to frustrate us. It's one of the worst things in the world to be on the attacking side of a team that's playing a low block, like Minnesota brought to us last night. It's just so frustrating trying to, one, break through it, and two, just have a team that their main goal is just to frustrate you on defense, and they're not going to play very open, and it's not going to be the most fun to watch. So I'd say last night we were just stifled, and Minnesota did a good job at doing that. I still think we should have been able to get on the board, but they did a good job stifling us last night. So that is my one word for the day.
That's a good word. I like.
Yeah.
Stifled.
Thank you. Thank you. You're muted, Justin, if you're speaking, but I'm going to get us back into the highlights. And
No, I'm not.
No, you cut up for a second.
All right. Get into it.
I just wanted to shut you up. Let's get into the highlights, Justin, for the day. So we were writing these in the prep for this. They were coming pretty easy. Like there was still a lot of things I think we want to take away as overall positives. This was our first game, I think, of the entire season. So 6 games thus far where we were the ones with most possession. And that's not something I think we're going to see very frequently this season. We had 55% possession last night, and Minnesota, frankly, was just willing to let us have it. They said, "Go ahead, you guys take the ball and try to break us down. Good luck." And for the most part in the first half, I think we were able to do that. We kept a really dangerous press. We had a lot of good takeaways in the offensive third. We were just creating mistakes in the first half for them, and our defense was playing well as I think they could in the first half. I think they were stifling most of Minnesota's chances. They didn't have it, like you said, Justin, they'd have a shot on goal throughout the entire game besides the PK. So Berkey, I mean, could have been sleeping between the pipes last night. He didn't have to do anything at all. So I think overall, for me, it was interesting to see us in that role. I don't think it's going to happen often, but to see the guys connect passes, it was nice. Like they kind of have that, but I still think we're stronger playing on the defensive end and looking to counter and break teams down.
I completely agree. I mean, well, I think the one thing that I noted in the first half that was awesome was we can play, our center backs can play the ball to Leuven in our own third with his back to the opposition and still turn out and still dish the ball. That man is just a relief. Like if we start getting stressed, just give the ball to him and let him turn it out and play it out. That was very, very nice to see on our end. The other thing, very early on, there was a little Nico and Klaus, like one touch, one touch. It was literally like they were juggling, like doing pregame stuff in the beginning of the game. I think it was literally before the 15th minute. Awesome to see those guys keep doing that. We're still having, and that's what was disheartening about this game is like we played our normal game, we just couldn't put one away, and we definitely deserve to put one away. That's what's hard. It's like, but overall, I just don't think the guys played that bad. It's just it'll happen, and that's what we're waiting for. Is like these games will happen in MLS. It's like, wow, we played a great game, we just couldn't put one away, and that's what's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think we did play a fine game, a good game. I still think there was elements, and we're going to get to that in more of the lowlights. But some other things to get to before we go there is just some individual things for me. I think Ostrak was getting more involved last night. You could see him popping up in more dangerous positions. I think part of that has to do with how we attack, and that you could notice last night that I think in the starting lineup, they build him as a right winger, but in the game, he actually played on the left side and Stroud switched to the right. So there was more space to be found on the left. I think because John Nelson also was pushing up on the left side on the kind of flank, the left flank position. It's funny because he talked to us about that, how he's working on getting, contributing more on the offensive side. And he was dishing in crosses last night too. So Ostrak, good to get more involved. We talked about some great defensive last ditch blocks or slide tackles. We had some lovely tackles, just lovely pieces of play where you put your 2 feet in or you get a slide in, and it just, those for a defender, like that's like Christmas morning, just popping up after one of those tackles. There's plenty last night.
Dude, that was one of my favorite words that we used when we had the 5-a-side. Get stuck in. Kyle Hebert got stuck in at the half line. I think it was on the 26th minute. Absolutely got stuck in. One pass over to Johnny. Johnny had a cross right into Klaus. Like that's why our when we look at like passing, we're lower in the league as far as passing goes. Yeah. We don't need to pass. It's just get stuck in, get a ball in the corner, and cross it. We have one pass, and we already have a shot on goal. And the other time, Kyle did have a slide. I want to say, what was it? The 39th.
Yeah.
It just absolutely massive block on a shot on goal. It was a one-on-one with Berkey, and Kyle came out of absolutely nowhere and just slid. It's just slid 15 yards, 30 yards. I don't care. He absolutely just blocked it, and it was incredible.
It was. There was a good amount of those last night. And the last couple individual things I'll get to, I'll kind of run these down. You mentioned this, Justin, already, but there was probably 4 or 5 instances last night. I at least felt like we were under defensive pressure or clearing the ball, and Jake Nerwinski just sent it on a plate to Klaus, like on a rope on the ground. And Klaus being able to relieve that pressure for us was huge. The fact that he can hold the ball up, I think he was, he didn't get the goal last night, but he was a workhorse. I mean, he still, despite no goals, despite no assists, despite us being kept off the board, I think that's still a game where you look at him and see the value that he brings to the team. He worked his tail off, and you could tell how badly he wanted to put that goal in, and it just didn't come. But I still, commend him for his effort last night. And then we got a couple cameos from Aziel Jackson and Blum getting some more minutes on the recovery side. And that's never a bad thing to see. I think they're taking it slow with him, considering what his illness he was dealing with from COVID. So I'm just glad to see we're still a team where Carnell does not fear at all putting subs in, and putting subs in early. At that, you saw 2 come in last night, the 60th minute. There's still a lot of game left to be played.
I completely agree. The one thing, I mean, I don't think the subs did as much as they should have. We had a lot of subs, so putting in him and a Adeniran and all that. I honestly would have liked to just see Nico finish the game out. Adeniran had an absolute sitter in the 93rd. It stopped doing whatever the minutes were, but it was plus 90, and Adeniran had a sitter where Klaus swung it in. He held it up, and it was literally probably 7 yards from the goal and just absolute air ballooned it. That was sad to see. I will say one other, if we want to talk a little bit for highlights, so we get into the lights. Berkey in the 19th minute put that dude on skates. That man looked like Bambi on ice. He was just a fake, and the guy just slid. He might as well just keep sliding all the way into the corner and just leave the stadium because he looked dumb. That's one other thing I would say. Klaus, he's also starting to feel it. You can see with Leuven, He had a little L behind the back on the 50th minute. Just made this guy also on skates. Johnny had a cross to Joao in the 53rd. We should have got another assist from Johnny there. Another assist. Bullshit that he didn't actually have the first assist. And then the 55th minute, Minnesota had that one-on-one, or basically the one-on-nothing goal, or they put it off the side of the post. That guy, I don't know how you don't finish that, but
Yeah.
that literally, I thought we had life. That's when they put that off the post, I was like, all right, this is our game to win. That guy doesn't even know what soccer is. Let's go and win this thing.
That was their player. That was when we talked about Mender Garcia. You got to put that in if you're him. He did the hard part with Berkey. We were carved open as a defense in that moment.
Absolutely.
I mean, I could not believe they didn't punish us there. But I'm trying to think the last couple things I want to touch on before we move into lowlights was I liked the game from Leuven last night. I still think he was our string puller. He was in the back orchestrating a lot of things. I still do think we should look for him more, even because his passing ability, his vision on the field is just bar none. Like it's over everyone on our team. He can see things before they even form. We had a lot of crosses last night as well. We completed a lot of them, which, not to say I want to be a crossing team, but good to know that we have that in case we need to rely on crossing, because we have some big men up top that can hopefully get up and win those headers. And the last two things I'll say is team response to the goal in the 78th minute after the PK was scored on us. I was loving the momentum that we picked up, because we basically took that blow and we basically owned the rest of the game. You know, the next 20 or so minutes, because we got 6 minutes of stoppage time, we were all over them. Every single chance was go. If I was a Minnesota fan, I'd have been a little worried, because you felt like there might be one left. And you already mentioned the Adeniran miss, which was painful to watch. But other than that, I think Minnesota came here looking for a draw. They got the win. They were very fortunate. They had 1.66 XG to our 0.95. Not shocking, but over 0.79 of their XG, of their 1.66 total, came from that PK. So half of it came from the PK. Otherwise, we should have had the better XG. And it's just it's a tale of, they got their chance. It was a PK. You know, we'll talk about the PK here in a second, but they finished it and they got it and we didn't. And I think we had to face something that we hadn't faced all season yet in Minnesota, and they frustrated us, and they did a good job at that. So I think it's a big learning experience for the team.
I completely agree. I think it was nice also to see Blum come in earlier in the second half. Like you said, it's still something that Carnell is not scared to do. We had Adeniran and Blum come on in the 60th minute, which is early. People are like, "Oh, that might be a late sub." Like, no, that's 30 minutes left in the game. Obviously, the guys that came in with Joe Keeney and Jared Stroud, their legs aren't that tired. They literally just had a halftime, 15 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
It was good to see them come in. I kind of wish we would have had Nico stay longer. I'm okay with putting Blum in at that point. And I agree. It irks me, the fact that they had 10 shots total and one on goal, and the only one on goal technically was the PK, and we lost this game. And that's what somehow you're right. You're right. That in Minnesota, that is literally their MO. They literally have that makes a total of 6 shots on goal in five games for them. Or 11 shots on goal in 5 games for them. It's just absurd. And they're putting them away. But it's just, they did come here for a tie and they got the dub, and that's just sad.
Yeah,
bothersome.
Justin, last thing here, man of the match for you for this game, from us.
You put me on the spot. I'm gonna go out and say, I'm still gonna say Klaus. To be honest, I thought he did well. I thought there was a couple calls that we definitely could have had some free kicks there. I thought he held the ball up really well in this game. He wasn't obviously not our goal scorer, but I thought relieving pressure for us. And he was the man that I just could not take my eyes off in this game. That, it's usually a Klaus thing, but a very different game from him. And it was good to see that he can keep the ball up top without having to score goals. And that's what's great to see out of him. What are your thoughts?
So I've got mine. And the reason I asked that is I saw some good comments. We hadn't even talked about him. Tim Parker. I thought Tim Parker played an exceptional game last night. You could tell the game prior, he was kind of coming back up to speed after the little injury or knock that he had before that game. And I think this game, you saw him get on his horse a couple times. You saw him stick in a couple tackles a couple times. You saw him get fired up at that yellow card that he got, telling the guy, just get up, and getting super animated. I love his leadership. And I also just love his his sporting ability, man. The guy's good. He's still got it in him. Like, I love seeing that. And I think for me, he's still our number one current center back that we have available right now. So I think he had a great performance last night.
I'm gonna go ahead and say two things real quick. Get on his horse. Tim Parker is a horse. He he's just an absolute horse himself. Also, never mention number two. Never mention sporting on this podcast. I don't care if how you want to use the word or not. It's just not a word we're going to use here.
He who shall not be named.
Also, if I would say that Joao Klaus is my number one, Johnny Nelson number two. And yes, we just had him on, but God, dude, he literally did a one-on-one. We talked about it in the corner. And that guy tried to put him on skates, and Johnny still absolutely shut him down.
Yeah, he's tenacious.
Johnny added like another fucking, God dang it. He added like another like 8 throw-ins. You'll cut that out later. He added like another 8 throw-ins. That man just shuts guys down on the wing. And Johnny just looks incredible. It's one of those things where like at the beginning of the season, we're like, oh, can we rely on these wing backs? And Johnny is one that is an absolute staple and needs to stay.
Yeah, I agree on Johnny. I think we're a little bit biased, but I do think Johnny had a great game last night. I think people are starting to see that more, especially after hearing the interview and then now going to watch him more. We got a lot of people in the comments agreeing with me on Parker. Yeah, I think great game from Parker. And let's, on that note, shift to the lower lights. Nothing too drab here, just some things we wanted to pick out or hope that we can improve on and debate on as well. We got one section here I definitely want to get your thoughts on here, Justin. But I read some of the post-game interviews afterwards, and one of the things that stuck out to me was Berkey. And I think we felt this. It's hard to put your finger on it because it's not something that's really tangible, but the energy last night from the team, I don't think it was the same as what we started with, at Austin and even in the games after that. It wasn't the same level of intensity, I felt, at least at times, where, and that I think just happens. And I think Berkey mentioned the same thing is, it's hard to be undefeated and try to bring that same mentality, like blue collar, chip on your shoulder every single game when, you are undefeated and they're perfect on the season. So maybe that's kind of what we need, a little bit of a reality check and bringing the energy back to us. We're going to have to bring that to Seattle next week if we're going to have a living chance at getting a result there. And I think in the first half, we looked dangerous, but man, you've got to finish the chances when you get them. We only had a couple, but they were good. We had no big chances. Technically, there's actually a way to quantify big chances. We had no big chances, but in the first half, it just felt like it was coming. We were like, okay, when are we going to break the floodgates open? When are we going to get the ball finally in the back of the net? It just felt like we had them on the ropes in a lot of parts of the first half, and we just couldn't finish it. And I think that changes the game for a team that came in with a low block. They'd have totally had to adjust their tactics.
I completely agree. I think it's one of those games that we had 15 goals in 4 games?
5 games.
5 games, sorry. So we're averaging 3 a game, and then we didn't score here. That is something, that's our MO. We got to put something away. We had plenty of chances. I know we had a cross from Stroud to Leuven, had a header off the crossbar. He was technically offside, some of those things, but yeah, Danny, I'm sorry. I saw the comment. I will fix that going forward. But I mean, it's just, as far as a low light goes, I mean, yeah, I literally, the only low light I had was, does the MLS have VAR? Because Klaus got kicked in the face, and that's tough. I would also like to see, was the PK an actual PK? Watching it live, yeah, probably it was. I'm not going to make excuses. I think it probably was a PK. I would like to see the replay of that, but I don't know what the VAR rules in the MLS are. I literally just Googled it, and I don't want to talk on it without knowing more. So maybe we'll talk about it in the preview next game. But
they have it. I know they have it.
I know, but it's just like, why wasn't it used whatsoever?
I know.
I didn't see any of these little box things.
Yeah, right.
But one of those things that's just, I feel like the Klaus thing, he got absolutely drilled in the face. I don't know if that's automatically a call or what that would be, but one of those things that, and I'm not going to make excuses. I think we had chances. We should have finished them. They finished literally the one chance they had, the only shot on goal. They put it in the net. No shit. Yep. It's literally a PK. God. But that's it. Otherwise, I don't really have a whole lot of lowlights, Joe. The only note that I had was, does the MLS have VAR as a low light? That was it.
The only thing I'll mention, actually, I have a couple of things because I want to hear about your thoughts on our given up PK. But on the second half, it was evident we were forced to go long. All we did was go long. It was just long ball after long ball. And you're just asking so much of Klaus to hold these up, or Joaquini to hold these up. It was, or Adeniran because he was subbed on. That's not the game. I think there's an element of that for sure. That when you find success in it and that ball's on, I think we have guys that can hold it. But to constantly be going to that, I know we felt like we were stifled. We couldn't build up because they were just sitting back and waiting for us. So I get why we resorted to that, but that was frustrating. The second half, we just didn't do anything until the PK, and like that's when finally our sense of urgency, I think, hit us. Because we had to. Our backs were against the wall, and we had to answer to it. And then we ended up generating, realistic chances, which was great. Otherwise, last thing I'll say before I get into our debate part is the ref. The ref calling a lot last night. I don't think it was I'm not going to hang our loss on a ref, but it just was frustrating. I think a little bit both ways. It's just a lot of like blowing the whistle. Like, dude, like just let the game go sometimes. There's a lot of little fouls here and there. And I think you either, as a referee, got to find the right balance to let some of those play, or you throw a yellow to say, I'm not going to tolerate that. Stop with the stupid fouls. You got to do one of those two. You can't just be calling and constantly stopping the game. I mean, we shouldn't have 6-7 minutes of stoppage time. I feel like you got to have a better precedent as a referee in that. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I want to debate here, Justin. PK last night, Kyle Hebert's challenge that led to the PK. I know we didn't get a great view from our seats. I've watched a couple of instant replays, but I don't know if you have any reactions from our view last night or anything that you've seen this morning on that.
I would say from our view, I've not watched replays, but from our view, I think it was a PK. I think Kyle needs to do a little better there. I think he came in a little late. You got to stay on your feet, win the tackle, and he did that for the majority of the game. It was just one spot. Jake, tell me on the replays that you watch, was it? I thought it might have been like outside of the box, and then the guy fell in the box. And maybe that's just from our vantage point that we had in 203, but I didn't think that it was actually like it was definitely not something in the middle of the box. It was right on the edge, and the ref just automatically pointed to it. And then, as you mentioned on the refs are there to facilitate the game, and I will never blame game. I will at some point, but I usually will not. I will usually not. And we didn't lose the game because of the ref. But if you have to talk about the ref at all after the game, they did too much. They are not there to play. They are there to facilitate it, and he did a little bit too much, I'd say, in the last game. But sorry, I'll completely off the ref.
No.
What are your thoughts on the PK? Was it actually in the box? What did you see on your replays?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big call. Obviously, it was the decider. So in looking at it afterwards, our view, all we could see was Hebert's back as he was sliding into Amaria and then Nerwinski on the other side of him. But we saw Nerwinski get to the ball before him. So we were hoping, I think, the ref would just let that go because the ball had been won and then Hebert took the body out for Amaria. And when you look at the replay, Nerwinski, so it actually all started with Nerwinski giving the ball away and getting on his hind horse to run back, and then he actually swoops the ball out from under Amaria right before Hebert, who I don't think had anticipated Nerwinski coming in, was going to make this last-ditch challenge. And he did, and he definitely got body. He also smoked Nerwinski's ankle, like went right through him. So he got a lot of Jake. I don't know how much of Amaria he got, but to me, I still think it was a penalty. It's tough when the ball's already gone. Is it still a foul when you're not technically like on the play anymore? But I'm not gonna. Yeah, I know people were pretty frustrated about the call last night, and I get it, especially when you look back at us not getting the call for the Klaus header. I always get that. That's a tough situation too. When the foot and the head meet, it's where do you deserve to be versus where do they deserve to be? Like what height is okay for a header versus a high boot?
Usually I honestly side usually with the boot, honestly, on those.
Okay.
It's like if you're putting your head down, but that one was more like he didn't put it down. It's almost more straight on. The boot came up high. So and 50-50, but usually, yeah, I agree. Like people are like, oh, that's a high kick. It's like, no, if the guy's putting his head down towards the middle of like his body, that's not a high boot at that point. I mean, I'm not gonna make excuses. We should have finished other chances other than those. PK, good for them. Good stuff. Minnesota. Congrats on your one shot on goal and finishing it. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys in September.
Yeah. And it sounded from the comments that we're seeing here that it looks like Amaria might have flopped and there wasn't much contact there. It looked at least like there was, so I can see how the ref called that so quickly. But you know what? We still have to do better to not let that happen and be more composed. So I'm not going to let
that ref, last thing I'll say on the ref, you could just didn't exhale and the whistle would have blown. He had the whistle in his mouth the entire game.
He
And so,
did. He did.
yeah, sure. If he,
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Hey, and if you're in here listening on YouTube or if you're listening on podcast, throw us a like, throw us a subscribe. And if you want to know when we're going live for these videos, make sure to hit that notifications button and tick those to on so you can be notified when we are going live. And then on the podcast, throw us a rating, throw us a review. I know you can do it on Spotify now, I heard. So let us know what you're thinking, how you're liking the stuff so far, and make sure you're letting us know that you're listening. So make sure to follow the show.
I'm gonna do another plug, Jake, real quick.
What do you got?
We got some exciting stuff coming up. You guys, we'll keep you in tune, but might be doing some live shows somewhere and
Maybe.
doing something, and you guys can all come visit. Maybe some giveaways while we're doing it live. So stay tuned for that. And also an additional plug: the pitch. The pitch has absolutely been killing it every home game. They've been killing it for us as well. If you haven't been there yet, get there. And if you have been going, you have to get there yesterday. Jake, you had it. I was 1-1 out at what, 4:45? I
Yeah,
got there at
it was
4 o'clock
packed.
and I walked right in. But right at 4:45, line around the corner. The pitch has been unbelievable. They've been killing it. I know they're opening up again this morning in literally a minute at 10 a.m. for the Man U game. Just Blaze has been absolutely killing it. Get that frozen Irish coffee in the
Oh,
summer. That'll be the best thing you can get. I drank another 7 of those yesterday. Goodness, God, it's just I can't get over the pitch. It's been so good.
it is. Service is great. Atmosphere is great. It's great for any sports. We watched some basketball there yesterday too, right before the
Yeah,
game. So I mean, it don't just think of it as solely a soccer bar. There is so much soccer there, which is really fun, and it's always crowded, and the hype and the vibe are awesome. But it's an any occasion type place with great food, awesome drinks. Yeah, the frozen Irish coffee. You don't get that anywhere else that I know of.
no.
So you have to go try it.
Blaze told us about it when we did the interview with him. Go back and listen to that. He literally searched for months to figure out that actual and the ingredients of that, and he killed it. And
He
last
did.
thing I'll say for them, also shout out Kelly Gadicados. She has been our waitress for a couple times now, and she has been absolutely killing it. If you get her, give her a nice tip. She has been the best, and all of their staff, dude. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
maybe I'm
No.
hyping this up too much, but the pitch has been incredible.
It has. It has. I mean, it has, and they deserve that. So definitely hit the pitch up. Tell them we sent you. They would love to have you all down there. All right, Justin. Let's wrap out with some player ratings in the groupings that we talk about, and then a quick review of our Grahammer and predictions, and then where do we go from here? So player ratings. Starting in the back, Berkey. It's hard to even give him a grading. I think he had good distribution last night. He actually made a really funny comment on the PK. So I'm going to grade him BA, but he wasn't really tested. It's hard to grade someone that wasn't really
Right.
actually tested. But on the PK, I'm looking for the quote that he had last night because it was classic. Basically, he had done his research on Amaria and taken his PKs, and this is his quote from last night. It said it looked like he was going to fire a rocket to the side, that on the right side that he dove on, and he hit it so bad that it was good. So I guess he scuffed his PK enough to where it went straight down the middle versus to the right where Berkey was channeling his research. But I love that quote from him last night. I think it's amazing. It's hard to grade Berkey, but I thought the defense, I would still give maybe a B plus to the defense. I think they had a good showing last night. Not a lot you could have done besides the PK.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is I still think we need to be a little bit tighter in our marking on some crosses. I think they blundered some crosses. We talked about that. The guy on the left wing, I don't know what he did, but he absolutely hot air ballooned one. And they've had some open guys, but I mean, we gave up a goal and it was a PK. So yeah, I agree. I'd give the defense a B plus. I think
Yep.
they did pretty well. Parker is absolutely back up to speed. That guy's awesome. Can't wait to see like what we're gonna do when Nielsen comes back. But as we move into the midfield, I would say a B. I mean, Leuven, it was nice to see. I mean, Leuven, I don't think that man's ever done less than an A in his games, and
Yeah.
he did it again last night. It's just tough as a grouping. I don't think we did enough to where we needed to be. I will say the one man we didn't mention, Jake, was Isak Jensen. It's good to see him on the field. I'm very excited for the 19-year-old. I think he will be a spark plug for us going forward. So, but overall, from like Stroud, Vasilev, and Ostrak, I'd say a B. What are your thoughts?
No, I think to me, I would even maybe go a little bit lower and do like, it depends on if we're doing individuals, I think Leuven definitely excelled. He had a good game last night. If we're doing the whole group, I think you might get brought down into like the low B territory for me, maybe even like high C, just because it wasn't enough last night. Like we were looking for creativity through those four, and it just wasn't really there. Like we were totally nullified in the middle of the field and creating it in the middle of the field. So we had to resort to long balls and on really go to the wings. So I want to see more from them, and they're going to have to learn to face low blocks like this. Not that we'll be tested on that level a lot, but we'll face low blocks, either if it's late in the game or if it's teams like Minnesota that just come to frustrate. You're going to have to learn to beat these teams, and we didn't have it last night, but hopefully they learn to pick that up. Go to the forwards. I think we got a couple comments here, Justin. Joaquin didn't look himself last night, his lively, active self that we're so used to seeing. So I think that's probably why he was brought out in the 60th minute. I like we said, I think Klaus, though, had a exceptional night. Everything but the scoreboard, was going for him. I think he was very impactful. So if I had to rate those two, and then you saw Dinaran come on so early, I'd say a B plus from the forwards. They had little to do last night, unfortunately. They had a lot of work to do, but little to do in front of goal.
I would agree. I think I still don't think that Gioacchini should have came off in the 60th for a Dinaran. Give him more time. I think, and to be completely honest, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think Gioacchini is now my new favorite player. I think that dude is just swaggy, and he is so fun to watch on the ball, and like the way that he works off of Klaus. And Klaus isn't easy, like, oh, he's my favorite player because he scores the most goals. No, I think that Gioacchini is my favorite, just watching him play. And I agree. I think they probably, even though they didn't get a goal, we had plenty of chances. We just got to put them away. So that's why I put them at a solid, just a straight up B. No B plus, no B minus. They did what they needed to do, but they didn't do enough. I actually, I guess when I say they did what they needed to do, they needed to score. But for the run of play and everything else, then working off the ball and the chances we created, they did well.
Yeah, I would agree. We didn't do well, Justin, on our predictions. None of us predicted a loss. You predicted 2-1 win. I predicted 2-0 win. Unfortunately, those did not cash for the boys. I'm definitely in the red after yesterday. That was none of my bets hit. And I put a couple of different things on. But the Grahammer, I owned the city team total over 1.5. It was rocking all season so far. Did not rock yesterday, unfortunately. And I know you were rocking, Justin, the over 1.5 goals in the game and Minnesota under 1.5.
Yeah, I felt really good about that because who would have predicted that we don't score a goal after averaging 3 a game? That's tough. Yeah, sorry about that. I apologize if you guys lost money. I'll make you money next weekend, I promise.
Yeah, we'll be back. So what? We're 3-3 year to date on the Grahammer. We'll be back for sure. And Seattle's going to be a tough one to find a good bet in because I think we're going to be pretty heavy underdogs. Pretty heavy.
I tried looking up. There's no odds out yet, but I would literally say we're probably like plus 380 as a money line.
That feels right, especially because the away. I mean, it's a fortress to go play in Seattle at Lumen Field.
I'm gonna get out there right now, Jake. I think I'm gonna take money line. This hammer. Hammer. Yeah, I will. Maybe I'm still in bonus land, but I think we're gonna turn this one around real quick, and we're gonna go in and like, oh, you guys haven't played real teams, and the one real team you played, you lost at home. No, now we're gonna go beat Seattle and shut the credits up.
Yeah, then we just go and whoop Seattle after losing to Minnesota.
Jordan Morris, four goals in a game. No, Caden Glover. Yeah, absolutely. A man hasn't even seen the minute yet, but yeah, he's scored 17 goals.
Oh my God. All right, well, that's a good segue, Justin, to where we go from here. Looking, now that we've done the highlights, the lowlights, the breakdown of the game, how do we feel, and are we optimistic heading into next weekend and just the next couple of games of the season? I want to start this with, for anyone that's worried or that thought you're going to, rattle off 10 games, 15 games undefeated or have a perfect season. This was what we needed. We needed to get this out of the way. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's done. And the way it happened, I still think we could have won this game. So if we're going to lose games like that and still we can hang our hat there. So we're going to be just fine. Not our night. It wasn't our best energy. It wasn't our best performance of the season, but it's not something that is also alarming. I think it's just a couple of things we got to change and improve on it in training. So we'll be there. Minnesota was an undefeated team. They came in to play very defensive and force us to play outside of what we normally like to do. So they were stoked to win. You saw how much it meant to their coaching and their players. After the goal, they were doing to our supporter section. So we successfully created a good team and a great experience in an away match for anyone coming here. Like, they're loving having to try to beat St. Louis, and it means a lot to them. So that's a backhanded kind of credit to us if it means that much to them, we're doing well. I think Seattle is going to be a tough freaking game next weekend, and I'm looking forward to breaking that one down further in the preview.
Yeah, where do we go from here? Minnesota. Have fun going back to Minnesota as a state. That sounds awful to live in. I will say I'm also not canceling my flight to Disney World. I'm still going there come November. So where do we go from here? Yeah, we go to Seattle, and I think we're gonna take a dub there. So I'm not concerned. Like you said, it was a good game by the boys. We got to put one away, but it wasn't like we left that game like, oh god, we actually have some holes we need to fill. No, it's a good game. We just didn't finish.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that'll wrap us up for today. So we will be back with you all, I believe, Justin, on Thursday again for the Seattle preview. We could not record on Wednesday for a couple logistics things. But like Justin said, we have a couple fun things we're working on for you all right now. So stay tuned. There's going to be more coming very soon, I promise. But in the meantime, thank you all for tuning in. Like the show, subscribe to the show. Check us out on social media at Ball Watching STL. And we will be back with you all on Thursday. Keep your heads up, St. Louis City fans.
Absolutely. All for City. This is just an early start to the season. We're still 5-1. Hang your hat on that. Hang your hat on that. The guys are playing well. Don't worry about 1L. We'll keep going.
We're going to be just fine. See you later, everyone.